Hi guys, welcome to my man cave, the command centre, aviation central, my study area, the shed at the end of the garden. I like it, it's pretty cool. Actually it's very cool at the moment. It's the beginning of November, we have a bit of an Arctic continental wind blowing in, actually blowing in so strongly that I had my flight cancelled today, which was a bit of a shame. I had a great lesson on Friday, probably my best in the circuits, really started to nail the landings, so which was epic, felt amazing. I really wanted to build on it today, but I couldn't. So I did a couple of exams while I was down there. I did my air law exam and I did my flight performance and planning exam. Passed them both, felt great. I've got 3 left, so yeah, quite excited to get them out of the way. But I thought what I would do today is I would talk to you about the biggest obstacle that I have faced so far and am facing in the pursuit of this goal. And it was actually a question which was thrown up quite a few times after my introduction video, and that is, how am I, as a husband and father and homeowner, going about funding my flight training? And it is a very interesting question. So interesting that I'm very interested to know the answer myself. By which I mean I don't have all of the funding in place at the moment. I have a plan, but to explain, to give you the full picture, I will start again right at the beginning. So like I said in my introduction, as a young kid all I knew was I loved planes and I loved flying and I wanted to do it. But at the age about 10, somewhere around 10, I can't remember exactly, I have a very vivid memory of a clear moment where I learnt the cost of commercial flight training, and I knew as a kid from a very working class background that, or I thought I knew, that meant that it was impossible. I heard this big number and thought, it's impossible. And that stuck. And it stuck pretty strongly, and I put it to bed. When I was 20, I had my first trial flight because, like I said, it does. If you love flying, it never goes away. You love being on planes. So at 20, I had a trial flight, and I asked, how much is it for my private license? And I was told, I think around £7,000. And again, because in my mind it's impossible, I heard that number. I was a student, and I thought, that's impossible. I'll forget about it. So then again, in 2011. When I learnt about the BA-FPP and EasyJet MPL, I discovered that you could do these sponsored programs and have a loan. What in my mind was impossible went to possible, and that is the very, very important thing that changed the whole process. The reality is that prior to 2011, when I discovered this, those things were still in place. They were cadet programs, sponsored programs. It's probably actually easier to find a loan then to fund your training than it was at the time. But I didn't know that. So all that changed was, in my mind, it went from impossible to possible. And when something is possible, it just becomes a problem to solve. And as aspiring pilots, that's what we are, that's what we should be, that's what pilots are, they're problem solvers. So I set about trying to solve the problem. I got the bit between my teeth and I thought, I want to do this, let's solve it. At the time I thought, okay, so I have a very small baby, I have a wife, I need to be in a position where I'm employed very soon after my training if I'm going to do it. So I thought it has to be a sponsored program, it has to be an MPL. I set about looking at doing it that route. I applied to a few programs, did some aptitude testing, and eventually came to a conclusion that it felt a little bit like saying, I want to be a pop star, and to do it I want to win X Factor. During that process of pursuing that avenue, I had learned a huge amount about the industry, and I had come to the conclusion, like I'm sure many of you know, that there is a great demand at the moment, and long may it continue. So I thought, well, we could probably do this doing a whitetail integrated program. Upon coming to this realisation, I realised then it was very important to make this a very objective decision, because obviously I have a very strong desire to do this, but it has to be a responsible decision. I really believe that. You have to make responsible decisions if you want to do this. I mean, if you can't make responsible decisions for your loved ones, how can you be trusted to make responsible decisions for the hundreds of people that you may be conveying in the future? So I sat down with my wife and objectively looked at the realities of doing this, and I put together a pretty large body of work in the form of a business plan for becoming a commercial pilot, which involved financial planning for the next 10 years, incorporating probable remuneration, and it meant I really learnt what is the reality of repaying this BBVA loan on a whitetail course if you get employed by EasyJet, like some of the big companies, integrated schools promise that you will. So I really wanted to know, and I spent a long time researching this, put together this very big business plan, and decided that if we were to do it, you can't just be financially viable, it has to be life viable. We have to be able to navigate this. I don't want to be away from my family. I wanted to navigate it all together. It has to be a group project, so we thought, well, let's do this at FDE in Jerez. That way, that all of the training takes place, 18 months that takes place in the one area. My wife could get a job as an au pair. She's a childminder. We thought, brilliant, this will work. We went out to the south of Spain to check the school out. We were very positive and committed to doing it this way. So I come home and presented this business plan to my parents, and information about the BBVA loan. When we learnt more then about that loan, we sort of discovered that actually you need far more equity than we had between my parents. Plus, I have many siblings, and it didn't feel like a responsible decision at all. So we came to the conclusion that actually that route wasn't right, and or possible, really. But still, in my mind, becoming a commercial pilot is not impossible, it's possible. So it was just, again, another problem to solve. So I looked at modular training and I thought, okay, what is the most cost-effective way that I can achieve this? And I discovered the Wings Alliance mentored modular training, which is a fantastic way of going through your modular training and retaining a real genuine credibility to your training. I mean, this is an alliance of affiliated and accredited schools who have a proven track record. So doing modular training, you have flexibility to choose where you fly. So I could fly at my local flying school. We could stay at home. I could carry on earning and get my PPL that way. And then I realised that I could do my ATPL theories at Bristol Ground School, just down the road, essentially, just down the motorway, and I started learning about them, and I discovered that their product is absolutely fantastic. I mean, they have a far better first-time pass success rate than any other pure classroom-based or pure CBT-based course delivery. They have a wonderful mix of physical books, CBT program, ATP digital, and online question bank, BGS online, and the cost, I mean, it's just over £2,000. When I consider that, I mean, if you look at, say, integrated training, it's £90,000. 1/3 of that time is doing your ATPL theories, so you can make this sort of comparison, right? 1/3 of that is about £30,000. You're going to do it for about £3,000, including your exam threes with Bristol Ground School. I thought, wow, this is definitely the way to do it. So I looked at the total cost to get me to an ATPL F, and came up with a figure of around £55,000, and thought, right, now I just need to find a way of attaining this amount of money. But I also realised that I don't need to just have £55,000. I can't. It's not like I need to have £55,000 before I can start. I just need enough to start training. So I started training. I started spending what I could on my PPL, and put together at the same time an investment offer, which meant I went back to my business plan. I looked at the BBVA loan and my projected repayments, and I thought, oh, how can I replicate this and recreate what would be a very competitive investment offer? And I came up with something which is a far more competitive investment offer than a government bond. Anything a blue chip organisation has paid off in the last 10 years, and far better than anything a bank will offer you. So I thought, brilliant, this is the route. If I could get a couple of private investors who think, wow, that is a fantastic investment, then I would be on my way. The next challenge then, I just want to explain, the reason I'm telling you all of this is because I want to explain that if you really want to do something, then there is no limit to the amount of work that you will put in to achieve this. And the amount of work that I put in with this business planning and then this creation of this investment offer and the next stage, it's huge, but it will get me there, and I really believe that. So it is just hard work, it's problem solving, and it's hard work. So I put together this investment offer and I thought, now I need to attract people, and the best way I came up with doing that was to start a blog. So I started blogging about my adventures, my travails, our travails as a family, trials and tribulations, and really putting across who I am and trying to engage a large network of people. And in doing so, I received some really positive feedback, and it was suggested to me that I would probably be best looking for an investor if I already had my PPL. So, which I kind of agreed with, and I had been working through it as much as I possibly could, but not at a fast enough rate. So I knew I needed to raise a block, and it was suggested to me that by a few people that I crowdfund. I thought, well, I like crowdfunding. I back sort of creative projects. I think it's a great medium. How could this be applicable to me? So I thought about that for a long time, and I started thinking, what rewards, what could I offer people? And I really got behind this idea, and for about 5 months I planned and put together a campaign, which was then an 8-week campaign. So it's about 5 months of planning, of networking, of emailing, and it is a massive body of work. And then I finally, when I was ready, I launched my 8-week campaign, and again, that is also an incredible experience, and a huge amount of work, and you have to be incredibly passionate, and you have to be incredibly driven, and have a multitude of skills, and help. You need help from people, and you need a lot of energy. And I went through this process, and I raised enough money for my private license, which is where I am now, sort of at the stage of working through that, aiming to complete that by the end of or the beginning of summer, basically. So my plan is I will have that done. I will hopefully find investors, and the further I get down the line of my training, I will be in a better position to take a high street loan to complete my training. But the realization that I've had, and I think this is the important thing, is that you never entirely know what you're going to learn around the next corner, or in the process of each stage. So in the process of doing my PPL, I may learn of a fantastic way to hour build, or for very little money, or that is at least more viable than what you might have predicted beforehand. So my advice, if you were like me, or are like me and thought, I can't do this, is just to start. Do what you can. When I first started just attending theory classes, that was all I could afford to do. I could afford £15 a week to go to my PPL theory. And if I hadn't done that, then I wouldn't have met these incredible people and been inspired by all of this information that I suddenly started absorbing and feel like I had this creative beast basically arise in me that said, you have to do this, you are inspired to do this. So that was the start of my journey, was just doing what I could afford to do, and even if that is the smallest amount, it counts. If you want to go anywhere, then you have to take steps, and little steps count. And it is amazing what they lead to. So, yes, if you're going to go to cadets, but my message is, it is possible. It may seem impossible at first, but if you really start learning and you look into it and you put a lot of work in, then the reality is anything is possible. And I look forward to having some more answers for you. I hope you enjoy the journey with me as much as I will. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.